Hello watch friends, the end is nigh. The end of the year I mean. We're in December already. How did that happen? It's time for the State of the Collection 2023, and it is a truly affordable collection. More than half of the watches here cost me less than £100 and only one cost me more than £400. You won't find any affordable £5,000 watches here. I'll put timestamps in the description so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. We'll start with watches that have left the collection. I sold 3 watches this year. The Accurist Retro Racer 7367, the Casio MTP-V005L-2B4UDF, and the Merca Gaucho hand-wound mechanical watch with a salmon dial. There's nothing particularly wrong with any of these watches, I just felt that they were too big for my personal style or taste. I also picked up a Timex 1978 reissue date on 2 separate occasions, but had to return it both times. And a Mondan Mini Giant off eBay, but it was scratched all over, so that one had to go back as well. Right then, now let's talk about watches that have been retained from last year. First up is the Pulsar VX32-X329. I got this as a gift from my mum, and although it's not the first watch I ever owned, it is the first watch I regularly wore. But unfortunately, it appears to be broken. I thought it just needed a new battery, but it still doesn't work properly. I hope I can get it going again because it is a lovely little quartz watch, even though the case is a bit beaten up after years of daily wear, and the strap is in really shoddy condition. Either way, I'll never get rid of this one. Next is the first watch I bought with my own money. The Rado Centrix Open Heart Automatic. I bought it on a whim when I knew nothing at all about watches. It's over the top and flashy, but it works as a special occasion watch and I do enjoy wearing it. I love the skeleton dial and the ceramic bracelet is buttery smooth on the skin. It really is a delight. The automatic movement is essentially a Powermatic 80 with the same 80-hour power reserve. It's by far the most expensive watch I have bought to date, but it's probably worth half what I paid now. Whoops. Next is the Citizen Eco Drive BM8242-08P. I bought this when I started working in an office and I needed a gold-plated dress watch with a brown leather strap. It has a beautiful champagne-coloured dial and a simple but elegant case. But the strap is really stiff and has barely softened at all. The Eco Drive quartz movement is accurate and reliable, though the battery needs charging. You can see it's not been in sunlight for a while. And it's a great inexpensive dress watch. If I ever get a solid gold dress watch, this one might go, but until then it stays, probably. Next is the Casio Edifice EFR-S108D, and it has a distinct Royal Oak vibe with its octagonal case and visible screws. It's very slim and sleek, but at 40mm wide, perhaps a little bit too big for my wrist. The bracelet is half decent too, which is always a nice surprise with cheap watches. The Edifice line offers some of the best value for money in the whole watch industry in my opinion. If you want a sporty, Genta-esque watch for less than £100, this is the one. Next is the Casio Enticer MTP-1302PD. I first saw this watch in an episode of Ben's Watch Club as a cheap alternative to the Rolex Datejust. It has a stunning navy blue sunburst style and looks really nice on the wrist, but the bracelet is not great. Still, it's a cool summer's day watch, the perfect grab and go you can wear without having to worry at all. The recent Tiffany dial re-release of this watch was massively overhyped. This one is a lot more classy. Next is the first ever hand-wound mechanical watch I bought, the Timex Marlin 34mm hand-wound, and it's a little beauty. It's extremely elegant with its classy dial, and the domed acrylic makes it look like it's come straight from the 1950s. I'm not a huge fan of the mesh strap. I think it would look better on a simple leather strap, but I've just never gotten around to buying a suitable replacement. The Marlin is the perfect first mechanical watch if you want to dip your toes in the water, especially when they are so cheap second hand. Next is another Casio Edifice, the EFE-110D, and it's easily the best Casio I own. The case shape is beautiful and the angled lugs make it wear really well on the wrist. And the white dial is simple and beautiful. The second hand hits all the markers, which is always good to see. And the bracelet isn't bad for a Casio either, it's quite nice. I honestly think this is as good as any watch in my collection. At 35mm, it's perfect for my skinny wrist. I really do love wearing this one. Next is the Rotary Special Edition Champagne Collection Art Deco GS08007/02. What a mouthful. It gives off a little bit of a pole rotor vibe, but it's a bit more dressy. It's smart and classy, but has that little bit of quirkiness to keep things interesting. It's 36mm in width, which is a great size for a dress watch, although I think the dial makes it look slightly larger. I really love the thinness too. This one's a great option if you find traditional dress watches a bit boring. Next is possibly my favourite watch in the collection, the Tissot PRX 35mm in PVD gold. The case and dial and bracelet are all fantastic and the proportions are perfect, unlike the 40mm version. There is very little I would change. The most underrated feature of the watch is slimness, owing to its quartz movement. It's majestic on the wrist and deserves all the hype it gets. A lot of people overlook the PVD gold versions, but I think they are stunning, and I would love to see more gold versions with different coloured dials for sure. Next is the Timex 1979 Reissue 38mm. It's another watch that was massively hyped on release, but again I think it deserves the hype. The quality is not amazing, but it nails the retro look, and the aluminium Pepsi bezel just has a certain style about it that's so cool compared to the bland ceramic bezels which have become the norm in modern watches. The bracelet is a massive hair puller, but it looks awesome. You can get these dirt cheap second hand for as little as 50 quid, which is an amazing bargain in my opinion. Next is another Timex, the MK1 Mechanical or Mark 1 Mechanical, I'm not sure. The Hamilton Khaki Field is the darling of the affordable field watch world, but why pay hundreds of pounds for one when you can just buy this with a cheap Chinese movement for a fraction of the price? The specs aren't as good, but for a poser like me, it nails the Vietnam era field watch vibe with its drab olive dial and 24-hour markers. I even like the green canvas strap it comes on. Fantastic. Next is the Zeppelin Hindenburg LZ129 7037-3. It's a ladies' watch, but at 36mm in diameter, it's perfect for my small wrist, and there's nothing feminine about it. The dial is incredible, and I love all of the complications, which are ultimately pointless in this day and age. It has a day, date, and week indicator with a moon phase. Don't ask me how you set this watch, I don't really know. Luckily, it is quartz and it has a quick set date, which means you don't have to reset the watch at the end of every short month. Next is the Casio MTP-1275SG. I bought this because I wanted to try two-tone, and I thought the bezel looked somewhat similar to a Vacheron Constantin overseas, although in hand you can see that's not really the case. The thing I love most about this Casio is the thinness. It's ridiculously thin. But the bracelet is pretty atrocious. It's poor quality and very shiny, but the watch was incredibly cheap. So those are all of the watches I have kept from last year. Now it's time to see what I bought this year. Let's get into it. First up is the Seagull 1963. I don't think I really need to say much about this watch. It's an affordable icon, probably the most famous Chinese watch ever, at least in online circles, and the cheapest column wheel chronograph you can buy. I swapped the cheap tan leather strap it came on for this beautiful brown distressed leather strap from Watch Gecko, and it takes the watch to the next level. If you buy one, make sure to get one with a display case back, because it's a crime to cover that stunning movement. If you want to convince someone to buy a mechanical watch, show them a Seagull 1963. I don't think everyone needs to have one in the collection, but you should experience one at least once. Next is the Vostok Amphibia Scuba Dude, another favourite in the online watch space. It's completely unrefined and industrial, which is why it's such a great watch to own. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. It has the infamous wobbly crown and no quick set date function, which is a bit of a nightmare, but you can't help but love that unique bezel and Scuba Dude emblem on the dial. At 39mm, it's at the upper limit of my size range, but it gives a nice meaty presence on the wrist. Prices are higher due to the terrible war in Ukraine, but you can still find them easily enough. Next is the Timex Vintage Hodinkee Limited Edition, and it may just be the sexiest Timex release so far. As you may notice, I forgot to film this watch, so you'll have to make do with this old footage I have from before. It has the same case as the 1979 reissue I showed you earlier, but the dial, bezel design and bracelet are all different. It harkens back to the golden era of dress watches with pipe band dials like the Omega Constellation. The stretch bracelet is really nice too. It's slightly bigger at 38mm than the watches that inspired it, but it still wears well enough on my wrist. It's a Timex, so it is quartz, but I like quartz. Next is the Invicta Pro Diver 8936. One of my favourite ever watches is the Rolex GMT Master 1675, aka the Concorde. I love the solid gold case and bracelet with the brownish red bezel and dial. Unfortunately, I'll never be able to afford one, but I wanted to try a watch with a similar vibe, which is why I bought this Invicta. It's gaudy and flashy, but it was cheap in an Amazon sale, so I thought, why not? It's only 37mm, which is perfect for me. It does have the dodgy Invicta branding on the side of the case, but I can live with it. The gold plating seems cheaply done, so how long it will last remains to be seen. Next is the Seiko Dolce SACM 150. It's only 33mm in diameter and incredibly thin with a stunning textured dial. The gold plating is well done, it looks incredible, and it cost me less than £200. The movement is the high accuracy quartz 8J41 with an accuracy rating of plus or minus 10 seconds a year. It has been used in Grand Seiko models in the past, so it's really awesome to see it in a watch this affordable. The strap is not the best quality, but it's very thin and comfortable and suits the watch well. I would also prefer it if it didn't have drilled lugs, but otherwise it's a real beauty. Next is the Seiko Presage Cocktail Time Matcha SRPF 41J1. I thought that the aforementioned Seiko Dolce would satisfy my appetite for a quirky dial, but when this popped up on eBay, I couldn't resist and bagged it for an absolutely amazing price, and the guy was a real gentleman too. It's absolutely mint. The dial really comes alive in sunlight in particular. The 4R35 automatic movement is visible through the display case back, but it isn't much to look at, and it is a questionable choice for a watch that retailed at £420. But Seiko loves nothing more than bumping up the price on a limited edition without bumping the specifications. At 38.5mm in diameter, I was worried it would look silly on my tiny wrist, but I think I can just about pull it off. I would like to try this on a alligator or crocodile leather strap. Maybe that's something for next year. Next is the Tissot Heritage Z173, and it's one of the best watch deals I have ever gotten. It looks like it's a watch from the 1930s, but it's actually a neo-vintage re-edition from the 1990s. It perfectly captures the Art Deco dress watch vibe. The movement is quartz and it still runs great even after 30 or so years, and it cost me less than £100. What a bargain. The dial does have a couple of imperfections, but nothing too distracting. I'm not sure if the strap is original. It is branded Tissot, but the buckle looks oversized and inelegant compared to the watch, like it's from a different watch. I think it would look stunning on a rich burgundy calf leather strap, and I'll probably look to get one in the new year. Lastly, it's the Venezianico Redentore Ultrablack 36. The dial is stunning, and the case and the bracelet are perfectly nice, but it is a little bit thick and the movement is a cheap Seiko NH35A automatic with a ghost date position. I paid around £386, which is a little bit pricey considering the specifications, but I don't really care, it looks amazing. It reminds me of old stone dial Rolex Datejust and day dates that straddle the line between sporty and dressy. It's not a perfect watch, but I suppose one cannot appreciate beauty without flaws. So there we go. Of course, the year isn't quite at an end yet, so the question is, do I have more watches on the way? And the answer is, sort of. I have pre-ordered the Laurier Astra Cosmic Blue, but I missed the initial batch, so I have to wait until next spring or summer. Other than that, I don't have any immediate plans to pick up another watch this year, but you never know what's around the corner. If you're still here, thank you for sticking with me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What would you keep and what would you get rid of? What do you think is missing? Let me know. That's all I've got time for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.